Hello, everybody. This is Linda. You're back in the groove again, coach. How are you doing today? By the way, it's Canada Day over here. So happy Canada Day if you live in Canada. And otherwise, I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. Now, last week during the live, I talked about mental health. And I talked about the importance of recognizing when we're not well, being aware of when we're not well. So today I'm going to talk about strengths and talents that we can discover during this period of COVID. Now, first, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Linda. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach. And I work primarily with women who want to increase their happiness and joy, of course, and of course, reduce their stress, improve their relationships. And I really enjoy some of the principles of psychology, positive psychology. I love the principles of mindfulness. And so when I offer programs, I'll often incorporate that in my programs. So today we're talking about strengths. And I want to first kind of set the background of what I mean by that. When we go through a change of some sort, there's always, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you if you give me 1 second here. See if I can share my screen. There. You can see here that change has ending and a new beginning. And of course, when it has an ending, it can happen fairly quickly. But the new beginning might take some time. And it's that period in between. It's the neutral zone in between where we might experience a lot of the feelings and emotions that I was talking about last week. So there's an ending and the new beginning, but the neutral zone can be quite long in some cases. And this is the period where we might experience a lot of emotions such as denial and shock and anger and frustration before we start feeling hope and enthusiasm. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why it's terrifying. We know that the period of change is very terrifying because it's disorienting and it's a time of high anxiety, and we are vulnerable during this period. And of course, it's overwhelming as well. But the beauty about it, and this is the part I'm going to concentrate on during my presentation, is that it's also exciting. So that period is also very exciting. And it could be exciting for many different reasons. So I'd love to hear what you think. What are some of the reasons why it might be an exciting period as well? It's a period where we can uncover ourselves, when we can discover ourselves. I see someone's joined me. Who's joined me? Can you type your name in the chat box, please? I'd love to see who's watching. Type your name in the chat box. I can see who's watching me right now. I'd love to welcome you. All right, we'll keep going. So I mentioned that during a time of change, it's also a time where we can discover ourselves, discover parts of ourselves. And I'm going to share my screen with you again here so that we could take a look at some of the things that we might discover about us. So we know that it's an opportunity to be creative. Definitely, you might have learned to be creative during the pandemic. And you might have learned that you have talents. For example, maybe you started dancing again. Or maybe you started acting or cooking or writing. What are some of the talents that you've discovered? What are some of the talents you might have discovered? Write it in the chat box. So some people, some clients have told me that their husbands have learned to cook. It was a hidden talent. Now, in the cases of husbands, they probably were always good cooks. But, if you did all of the cooking, why would your husband get involved with the cooking? In some cases, they thought, well, they think that, well, my wife can take care of that. But during the pandemic, they might have discovered that cooking is something that they want to do. And that might have been a hidden talent. And some people also have started writing. I know a lot of my clients have started writing journals, and I've encouraged them to write in their journal. So that might have been another hidden talent that they've discovered during the pandemic. And photography, a lot of people enjoy taking pictures, and maybe during the pandemic, it was an opportunity to take pictures, to take photos. So we know that this zone, the neutral zone, is a period of time where we can discover our talents, where we can reveal our talents. So what are some of your talents that you've discovered? What are some of your talents? Write it in the chat box, please. What are some of the talents that you've discovered about you during this period? Maybe it's something you didn't really know, or maybe it's something that that you were aware of, but you hadn't tapped into that particular talent. And because of the change, because of maybe having to stay at home more, you've discovered that, I like dancing. I actually met with a client yesterday, and because he and his family, his wife and three or four children, I can't remember, because they've had to stay indoors most of the time, they have discovered their love of dancing. And he was telling me that he's been playing ABBA. Da, 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 da. Oh, I can't remember how it goes. There are different really good songs of ABBA. So he's been dancing with his family to the ABBA and singing as well. So that might be an example of another hidden talent. What are some of your hidden talents? Write it in the chat box if you think you've got a hidden talent, or if you've discovered a hidden talent, such as maybe photography or singing or sketching or dancing. All right, let's keep going. So not only is it a period where we can discover our talents, but it's also a period where we can discover our hidden strengths. So I'm going to share my screen with you again so that we could take a look at some examples of strengths. All right, there we go. So this actually comes from a website called viacharacter.org. And as you can see, there are many different types of character strengths, such as creativity, such as curiosity, or bravery, or love. And one of the ways that you can discover your strengths is by sharing a story with a friend. And I'll give you an example. It was last year when I was talking to a friend of mine, and I told her that I went ziplining. Now, if you know ziplining is, well, it's a scary experience because you have to hang on some ropes and then you have to kind of throw yourself off a really big cable. And you have to, swing on this cable to get to the other end. And it's very, very scary. So I'm telling her this experience, and she says, "Boy, you're courageous." So one of the ways that we can discover our strengths is by sharing a story with somebody and asking them for feedback or listening to what they tell us. So my friend, after I shared with her my experience, she said to me, "Boy, you're courageous." And I'm thinking, no, I don't think I'm courageous at all, actually. It's not something that I think is courageous. And the reason why I didn't think it was courageous, because in my mind, in my opinion, courageous is what I've seen in movies. You know, when they start fighting against people and they're in wars and they're very, very courageous because they've fought and fought and fought and almost died, but yet they continued. And I thought, no, I'm not really courageous, but my friend saw that character strength in me. So character strengths are possibly other things that you've discovered about yourself during this pandemic. Maybe you have leadership qualities. Maybe that's one of your character strengths. Or maybe another one of your character strengths is spirituality. And that's what really came up during this pandemic. Or maybe it's humor. That's what came up during this pandemic. So you see, we all have character strengths. In fact, character strengths are what makes up our personality. And a scientist discovered that a common language of 24 character strengths that make up our best parts of our personality, and that everyone possesses all of these character strengths, but in different degrees. So each person has a truly unique character strength profile. And one of the things that I'm going to suggest for you to do is to go to this website, www.viacharacter.org, and you can complete your character strengths there so that you can identify certain character strengths. So in summary, we've talked about that the pandemic, the COVID-19, can definitely bring out some negative things, such as, anger and anxiety. We talked a little bit about that last week. But on the other hand, the pandemic can also help us to discover some talents that we may have, especially during the neutral zone. Because the neutral zone is that period in between the ending and the new beginning. We might have uncovered some hidden talents that we have, and we might have uncovered some strengths that we have, some character strengths that we have. And that's the part that I want you to be thinking about mostly. So I want you to be thinking of your talents, and I want you to be thinking of your character strengths. What have you noticed about yourself over the last few months? What have been some of your character strengths? What have been some of your talents? What have people told you? Boy, you're really good with this. Or you're such a good organizer. Or you really pay attention to cleaning a lot. So that might be some hidden talents, for example. So of course, while we're going through what might be considered a difficult time, you want to put more emphasis on the good things, such as your talents and such as your character strengths. All right, so that's it for our live for today. Thank you for joining me. My name is Linda. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach, and I am looking forward to seeing you next week again. See you soon. Bye-bye now.